Welcome back. Today we're digging into a script for a commentary video about viral food trends, specifically a Biscoff cheesecake and a sweet potato with cheese.
Yeah, this one has a ton of energy. You can just feel it coming off the page. The voice is there for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But that energy, it feels like it's firing in a few too many directions at once.
A shotgun blast when it needs to be a sniper shot.
That's a good way to put it.
Exactly.
There are some genuinely brilliant moments in here, but they're kind of buried. So let's just get into it.
Okay, so the first thing that hits you, like right away, let's talk about the tone and style.
Right. The material just leans so heavily on this catastrophic, hyperbolic language.
It's very angry internet reviewer.
Totally. And look, I get what they're going for, that high energy, that shock value, but the intensity is dialed up so high, it actually overshadows the analysis.
Can I push back on that a little bit, though? I mean, isn't that just the language of the internet now? You scroll through TikTok, everything is either iconic or trash. So maybe saying a cheesecake is a death sentence is just speaking the language of the audience.
That's a fair point. And if this were, say, a 30-second clip, I'd probably agree with you.
But it's not.
It's not. It's a long-form script. And when you keep that level of aggression up for, 10 or 12 minutes, you just get diminishing return. It's the boy who cried wolf.
Because if a cheesecake is a death sentence, what words do you have left for something that's actually, bad?
Precisely. It just desensitizes. The script is full of phrases like biblically sinful or asking to be shot right in the face. It creates a barrier. And instead of laughing with the narrator, you kind of start to recoil. And the valid critique of like a 4,000-calorie hack gets lost because the narrator's just screaming insults.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that. The part where they call people fat MFers and start yelling about gluttony.
Right.
It felt less like a critique and more like just bullying people.
And that's where you lose people. You lose the moderate audience. The goal here is to analyze the culture, not just roast random people for what they eat. So the suggestion is, dial back the violent metaphors.
But you don't want to lose the edge.
No, you don't have to lose the edge. You just need to swap the shock value for wit.
Okay, so give me a concrete example. How do you keep it sharp without, asking to be shot?
All right, let's take the calorie count argument. The writer's mad about the 50 cookies and the tub of spread. Instead of calling it a death sentence, you could frame it through absurdity. Something like, this single tub contains the caloric requirement for a 3-day survival expedition.
I like that. It's much drier.
It's drier, it's smarter, and it makes the food the joke, not the narrator's, mental state.
It shifts the critique from, I hate these people, to this thing is objectively ridiculous.
Yes. And there's another spot where this applies, the whole water talk section.
Oh yeah, the flavored waters. Right now it's just dismissed as obesity central, which feels like a lazy throwaway insult.
It is lazy, and it misses a huge opportunity. If you want to strengthen the tone, you should analyze why it's absurd. It's not just the sugar, it's the performance of it.
It's performative hydration.
Performative hydration, that's perfect. That sounds so much more in line with the think piece critique that comes later.
Exactly. If the writer pivots to mocking the performance instead of the people, the whole script just elevates itself.
It really does. It moves from a rant to a comment.
It feels like the writer is kind of stuck between wanting to be a bully or a philosopher.
And that indecision is killing the flow, which, that brings us to the second big issue, structure and flow.
Oh yeah, this is where I got the most whiplash. We have the 2 case studies, right? The Biscoff cheesecake and the sweet potato.
And the transition between them is it's so abrupt.
It's violent. You go from this high-octane screaming about a sugar bomb to suddenly watching a quiet video of a teacher eating a plain potato.
The only connection right now is just, and here's another food trend.
It felt like watching 2 totally different videos spliced together by accident. But I'm not sure. How do you bridge that? They're opposites. One's complex and unhealthy, the other is simple and healthy. What's the thread?
The thread is the polarity. That's the missing piece. The writer misses the chance to explain why these 2 things are in the same video. The internet hates the cheesecake because it's too much, right? It's excessive. But the internet also hates the potato.
Because it's too simple.
Exactly. It's the Goldilocks problem. So the suggestion is to explicitly contrast the two trends, make an argument about the damned if you do, damned if you don't nature of this stuff.
So instead of just next up, the potato, you frame it as a pendulum swing.
Correct. You just insert a bridging thought. Something like, while the internet ruins some trends by maximizing excess, like the 50-cookie cheesecake, it ruins others by overanalyzing simplicity, like the potato.
That immediately makes the narrator seem like they're seeing a pattern, not just, consuming content.
And you can ground that even deeper. The narrator already argues you should just go to the Cheesecake Factory and get a real slice.
Right, don't hack it.
And for the potato, the argument is just eat a potato.
So the theme is let things be what they are.
Yes, stop hacking, stop intellectualizing, just eat the cake, eat the potato. If the writer highlights that common thread, the transition is seamless.
That makes so much sense. It turns it from a list of complaints into one cohesive essay.
But speaking of intellectualize, we have to talk about the think pieces.
Yes. This is the third point, right? Completeness and focus. And this is a big credibility killer in the draft right now.
It really is. You're talking about the part where the narrator critiques the articles from the cut, but then admits to not even reading them.
I did not exert the energy to read any of these.
That line has to go. Or at least the sentiment behind it. You can't mock articles for framing the potato as anti-Ozempic propaganda and then say you didn't read them. It just feels dismissive.
Okay, but playing devil's advocate for a second, could that be a stylistic choice? Like, this is so stupid I won't even dignify it with my attention. Is there a version where that works?
You can try that angle, but it's really high risk. If you're going to critique the arguments, you have to actually engage with them. Even a little. Otherwise, you just come across as lazy, not cool.
It sounds like I'm angry about something I didn't bother to understand.
Exact. So how do you fix it without, turning the script into some boring book report?
Right. The writer obviously doesn't want to do that.
You don't have to summarize them. You just have to engage with the content enough to prove it's absurd. The suggestion is to use the evidence you already have in the script, the Jennifer Hudson show appearance.
Where they eat the potato on stage?
Use that clip. Analyze it. Show Jennifer Hudson struggling to make eating a cold potato look interesting on TV. Use that visual evidence to prove the think pieces are projecting meaning where there is none.
I see. So instead of I didn't read the article, you say, look at this clip, it's just a woman eating a tuber. Anyone writing a thesis on this is basically hallucinating.
Exactly. You show, don't tell. You prove the absurdity. It makes the narrator look observant instead of ignorant.
That's a huge distinction. It transforms the I didn't read it laziness into a principled stance of I didn't need to read it because the evidence proves there's nothing there.
Spot on. And that principled stance that some things just don't need to be explained or performed, that leads us right to the ending.
Our final point? Significance and relevance.
Yeah. The ending was a trip. Another moment of whiplash, honestly. We go from fat MFers to Patrick Jane from The Mentalist and this very deep philosophical story about a woman who collects buttons.
It's the third act epiphany problem. The writer has this profound point at the end about Tomorrow the Button Lady who refuses to explain her collection because it only has to make sense to me.
It's a beautiful story. It's the emotional core of the whole piece, really.
It is, but it arrives so late. It feels completely tacked on.
The listener just isn't primed for that kind of depth because the last 12 minutes have been mostly yelling about calories. It feels like two different scripts taped together.
So how do you fix that? You can't just move the ending up to the beginning.
No, but you have to seed the theme. You have to weave that idea of private joy versus performative consumption throughout the whole script.
So where would you do that?
There's that great analogy in the script, the olive meme. Eat 5, eat 20 olives. Nobody is watching.
Right, the idea that doing things in the dark doesn't count.
That's buried near the end, right? Move it up. Put it right in the middle of the sweet potato section.
Oh, that's smart, because the sweet potato lady is being criticized for sharing something so mundane.
Precisely. Contrast your behavior with the olive concept. Ask the audience, why do we need to broadcast eating a potato? Why can't we just eat the olive in the dark? If you introduce that tension there, you set the stage.
So when we finally get to the button lady at the end and she says the truth is mine, the audience isn't confused. They're nodding along. They're thinking, yes, this is the answer to the potato problem.
It turns the script into a circle. The button lady becomes the hero who defeats the think pieces. The think pieces demand an explanation, and she represents the refusal to give one.
That connects everything. The cheesecake is performing excess, the potato is performing simplicity, and the button lady is refusing to perform.
You've got it. That's the narrative arc. But right now, that arc is invisible because of all the clutter.
And what's interesting is that also solves the think piece problem we talked about. The critique shouldn't just be that they're pretentious. It should be that they're trying to explain something that shouldn't be explained.
Yes, that's the stronger argument. I didn't read them because a potato doesn't need a thesis. That ties directly to the button lady saying her buttons don't need an explanation. It makes the whole script cohesive.
It sounds like the writer has all the right puzzle pieces. They just jammed them together in the wrong order and covered them in too much angry spray paint.
That's a perfect visual. Pieces are there. It's about arrangement and tone. And frankly, you can't make a nuanced argument about private joy while you're screaming violent insults. You have to embody the sophistication you're trying to preach.
Okay, so let's recap the action plan for the listener.
We have, first up, tone. Temper the hyperbole. Swap the death sentence stuff for wit, like the survival expedition. Make the humor about the absurdity, not the people.
Second, structure. Build that bridge between the two trends. Use the idea of polarity. The internet hates one for being too much, the other for being too little.
Third, focus. Fix the think piece part. Don't brag about not reading the article. Use the visual evidence, the Jennifer Hudson clip, to prove they're projecting meaning where there is none. Show, don't tell.
And finally, significance. Thread that privacy theme throughout. Move the olive analogy into the middle to set up the conflict. That way, the button lady ending feels earned.
If the writer makes these changes, this goes from being a pretty standard reaction video to a genuinely insightful piece of cultural criticism. It'll resonate with a lot of people.
And it does it without losing the fun. It just makes the fun smarter.
Exactly. So please make these changes, refine that tone, and send your work back to us. We'd love to see the next draft.
Absolutely. It has great bones, just needs a little surgery.
That's all for this critique. Keep writing, and we'll see you next time.